Hello, everyone. My name is Maryam Tayyip, for those of you who don't know me. First of all, hi, this is me, and this is my lovely skeleton slash companion, Gary. The talk I just wanted to give you guys today, I gave to a group of students, my juniors at Al Faisal University College of Medicine, through the Medical Students Association and the Growth and Development Committee today, and it was a wonderful talk. And very thankful to everyone who attended. And it just crossed my mind that not everyone was able to be there. And I thought I'd make this video kind of going over the PowerPoint again, going over the key points I talked about, just to make sure that anyone who wasn't there can still benefit. And I hope this is helpful.
Hi guys, it came to my attention, I'm sorry for this weird interruption, that my head is cut off for the entire video, but I re-recorded it twice, so I'm not gonna do that again. And this is Gary. I thought he just deserved a shout out because he was there supporting me, like, basically all the medical school. Hope you enjoy the video. Also, I'm recovering from the flu, so I'm sorry if my voice sounds weird, but that's why. Now, officially enjoy the video. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Briefly to introduce what I've done, I've been, not this year, but for the past 2 years, Vice President of the Medical Students Association. I am a medical student. I go to the gym. I have hobbies. I'm a human being. Um, and it was funny that, to me at least, that in the email they mentioned that I am the master of time management. Because for those of you who know me really well, I think you know that that's not the case um, all of the time. But I can say that I have gathered a lot of tips and tricks from a bunch of different places and understood how I work and how my brain works and how to manage that in that type of way, of course, through a lot of researching and reading and trial and error. And even with that, this past weekend, I almost forgot to make this talk. And it was quite funny. And I even went to I was doing emergency medicine, like I'm currently doing that rotation. And last night I had an ER shift, and the consultant came up to me and asked me, "What are you doing?" And I told him, "Oh, I'm making a presentation about time management for a talk that I have to give tomorrow." And I just kind of found it ironic and funny. Um, but anyway, we're not perfect and we're human beings, and sometimes we don't get things done 2 weeks in advance, and that's completely fine. It's just how we are. And with that, I kind of got to thinking what time management is in and of itself. And I found a lot of different definitions online. And my favorite so far is this. It was from a study published in 2007 or in a book, and it mentioned it as behaviors that aim at achieving an effective use of time while performing certain goal-oriented activities or directed activities. And so I really like that definition because I like to do a million different things at the same time. And I look at time management and productivity in the sense of not necessarily doing a task for an extended period of time, but more so breaking up my time into smaller chunks so that I can get to whatever goal I set for myself in the long term, not just one in the short term. And with that, I noticed personally, and I think generally as human beings, we tend to suck at productivity. And I got to researching and looking introspectively and understanding why this is the case. So we have a law called Parkinson's law, which I'm going to talk about in a bit. I'm going to touch on human psychology, and I'm also going to touch on our lack of deep focus. And so, first of all, Parkinson's law. Don't click away. I'm not here to teach you physics for those med students that are watching. But what Parkinson's law states is that work will expand to fill a lot of time. So let me give you an example. If I give you an essay to write today, okay, and I tell you I want it done by tonight, you're going to start working on it immediately because your deadline is immediate. If I tell you I want this essay in 2 weeks, let's be honest with ourselves. Most of us are not going to start working on the essay for a while, and that's completely fine. That doesn't mean that you're a bad student, you're a bad person, you're this, you're that. It's just natural. If I have 2 hours to get ready in the morning, you know that I'm going to use every single minute of those 2 hours. But if I have 10 minutes to get ready and I know that if I'm late, they won't let me into the session and I'll lose my attendance, then you know I'm going to get ready in those 10 minutes. It's just the time you allocate to a task will force you to be more efficient within it. So the less time you allocate for yourself, the more productive you become. Or if you look at people who are, let's say, cramming, if they know that generally it takes them, if they say, I want to finish this lecture in 3 hours, they're going to take their time. But if they know that they have a final tomorrow and they haven't touched this lecture, you know that they're going to cram and they're going to try and finish that in a shorter amount of time. And so it's only natural that we procrastinate right before the due date. So if you set these kind of self-imposed deadlines prior to your work, or you tell yourself, I want to study this lecture within this time frame, and make it kind of more concise, flexible but concise, that's going to help you in the long run with this. And again, no one is immune to this. It's natural. And again, it's not your fault. Let's look into human psychology. So as human beings, we have something called the novelty bias. And so anything novel is new. So this novelty bias means we tend to seek these novel and unfamiliar stimuli and environments. And the reason we do that is that it causes a release of dopamine, which is our happy hormone. And once you have that rush of dopamine, it becomes addictive and it becomes a craving. So that's why we have these beautiful little devices in our hands, and these are a breeding ground for cravings, or that rush of dopamine you get when you scroll from TikTok to TikTok, or on Instagram, or watching YouTube video and binging this and doing that, or playing video games. Again, there's nothing wrong with these behaviors. It's just that our brains start to crave them. And because of the increased stimulation that we have in our world, our brains are overstimulated at a baseline. So once you get back down to this normal baseline, your brain is going to opt for the easiest route to get that rush of dopamine, which is, again, let's say, scrolling mindlessly, instead of the thing that would cause less dopamine release, which would be, for example, studying. And your brain, again, will jump to the most accessible form of dopamine. So let's say if you have a chocolate bar every single day of your life, or every single day for 3 months, and then one day you don't have a chocolate bar, your body is going to start to crave that sugar. It's natural. It's just a craving, and it's the way your body responds to these positive stimuli that it's getting. So if we look at it from a point of real understanding, distraction is not the enemy of focus. Overstimulation is, because the baseline overstimulation of our brain is what opts for us to go for things that are distractions, because they're much more easily accessible than other forms of, work or productivity, so to speak. And so then we talk about flow. So if any of you are athletes and you kind of got into the zone with your workout and you feel like everything is blocked out, that feeling is what we call flow. In the context of psychology, it's defined as an intense state of focus or engagement within any particular task that you're doing. I think a more relevant example for everyone would be, let's say you're binging a Netflix series, okay, and you started at 9 p.m. and suddenly you notice it's 4 a.m. and everything is dark and you don't know where you are. You'll be at home, but that kind of feeling of, I have no idea what just happened and how I just finished all of this. You were kind of in that state of flow, in that state of intense focus for periods at a time. And the interesting thing about this is the way it affects our brains. When you have these intense periods of focus, so that deep work or that flow state, in isolated fields of work, let's say someone trying to learn the guitar, okay, has this isolated period of focus for 1 hour a day. Over time, that connection is going to strengthen. It's going to promote myelin remodeling, and myelin is the sheath that goes around your nerves. And what that does is it basically increases the amount of connections you have in your brain with that specific task. And that's a concept that you might have heard of as neuroplasticity, or the way to change your brain. Your brain is like a muscle. You need to train it to do these types of things. And that's the way we apply this type of flow and deep focus into our work. And the way we need to understand to apply it is, there's a difference between deep work and shallow work. When you're consistently distracted, we tend to be in that frame of shallow work rather than deep work. You have your phone on the table, you keep switching between tasks, you keep switching from checking your emails to reading a bit about this, to writing your paper, to etc., etc. So your brain is not focused intensely on one task, so it's difficult for you to achieve that flow state. And so we need to understand how to get into that deep work, which I'll talk about tips and tricks in a moment. And again, your brain is like a muscle. You need to train it to be able to focus. And by lowering the stimulation we give ourselves, decreasing the accessibility to those distractions, that's going to help us be able to focus for longer periods of time. And I think another crucial thing is chasing the goals that are meaningful to you. And I mentioned this in a sense of, I'll talk about this in a moment as well. Your motivation is a finite resource. You're not going to stay motivated forever. And truly understanding your intentions, your reasoning behind wanting to achieve a specific goal or a specific task, that's what at the end of the day is going to keep you going, keep you motivated, and not even motivated, keep you disciplined to do this task, even when it no longer feels good, even when it no longer serves as a source of dopamine. Okay, and so there's a quote from Lao Tzu. So this is regarding Taoism. And it says, that which offers no resistance overcomes the hardest substances. That, that which offers no resistance can enter where there is no space. And I'm going to save you the lecture on spirituality and all these things right now. I just really enjoyed this quote because it shows how the body flows. You flow into an area of less resistance. And the way I look at it and the way I've seen a lot of people behave, particularly with these tasks of being in school and studying, is that the hardest part is starting. Once you pass that barrier of resistance, it becomes so much easier for you to complete your tasks. And say, for example, one of the students asked me today, aren't you tired if you go to the gym after work and then come back home and study? And how can I be able to do that more often? And he mentioned to me that every time he goes home, he feels this type of exhaustion and then he's not motivated to go to the gym anymore. That kind of push is gone. And the way I look at it is that you're creating more resistance for yourself. How so? If, let's say, someone's doing a push up, okay? You know, if you get to the bottom and you release your hands, the amount of energy you need to push back up after creating that release is so much more. You're creating an increased barrier of resistance that you need to bypass. And so you need to create systems in your life that decrease that resistance in little ways. It makes so much of a difference. So let's say going from uni to the gym directly instead of uni to home, back to the gym, back home. Always having your gym clothes in the car, for example. Making tasks easier for yourself to do is going to make you much more inclined to do them. Okay, so again, the hardest part is starting. And now we know all of these problems with time management. How can we get a bit better at it? And most crucial thing is setting clear goals and priorities for both your short term and your long term. And these need to be realistic and achievable goals. That's why you divide them into short term and long term goals. And what I encourage you to do is to pause this video and just write 3 priorities, top priorities, 1, 2, 3, top 3 most important things in 3 different categories of your life. Let's say academic, social, health, extracurricular, whatever it may be. Just write your top 3 priorities in 3 different categories of your life. Okay. And now I'm assuming that you wrote it down on a piece of paper. I want you to stop and think, what are your intentions behind each goal? Let's say I said my priority is getting good grades. Why is this a priority? What is my intention with getting good grades? And it could be, okay, this makes me feel good. That's completely fine. But you could also shift your mindset a bit more. And let's say for me as a medical student in her final year, I would say I want to get good grades because I want to make sure I learn in a way that ensures that I am a competent physician in the future and I'm as knowledgeable as possible and as able to help my community and the people around me and the people in need. So again, that shift, that want to help people, for example, and want to be a better physician in the future is what's going to push me when I have a million deadlines and finals and I'm exhausted and I kind of want to cut corners here and there with my learning. That's what pushes me, not my motivation to just want good grades at the end of the day. Remember, motivation is finite. It's it's an inexhaustible resource, but if you keep yourself disciplined, that's what is going to keep you going for a longer period of time. And so, moreover, from setting clear goals and priorities, plan your time, plan your week, create lists, schedule everything you have to do, and keep in mind you don't need to overcrowd yourself. You're a human being, not a robot. You can definitely use tools to help, like Notion, Google Calendar, notebooks. I'll talk about this in a moment, but just don't overcrowd yourself with impossible tasks. Don't be that person that creates a to-do list that is so undoable, because that's only putting yourself in harm's way and making yourself less inclined to continue. Okay? And if this works for you, first of all, kudos. But set artificial deadlines. I can't take them seriously. I don't know why. But if you're the kind of person that sticks to them, set them. It's going to help you, use Parkinson's law to your advantage instead of it being your downfall. And again, like I said, start. It's always the hardest part. Just push through that beginning, annoying part of being bad at a task and understanding how to structure everything, and breaking that barrier of resistance is going to make it so much easier. And so now I'm going to talk about probably my favorite thing, these helpful programs that's supposed to be a heart, by the way. These helpful programs that have genuinely helped me organize my life in so many different ways, especially with academics. First of all, Notion, which I'm going to talk about in detail. Calendar apps, you can use anything, Google, Apple, Outlook, default, anything. Just having a way to organize your tasks and understanding what you have in each day is going to be so helpful. There are also other apps I'll talk about. Flow, which is a Pomodoro timer. Mindful breath, which is a very helpful tool to help you control your breathing and control your stress levels. And once upon a time, for all of these digital things, I used to just have a simple pen and paper. I loved my Moleskine planner like no other. And I probably still have it somewhere, but I can't find it. And yeah, so whichever works for you. If you're a digital person, go digital. If you're a physical person, use a notebook, anything, a scrap paper. Just have a tool that helps you organize all of these different thoughts. And so this is my type of productivity dashboard that I use to organize at the beginning of the week. Again, this is malleable. You can change your tasks. You can move a task from one day to another, which is what I like about the digital uses of planners more than the physical ones. And so this is on an app called Notion. And so this would be my weekly schedule. Every day would have a highlight, which is the most important thing I need to do today. The same way we set our priorities with our goals, or what's my priority in my social life versus my academic life versus this. You need to set your priority for the day and choose one highlight, one crucial thing that you need to get done. And the rest would be, other tasks. But again, don't overwhelm yourself with 70 tasks. Put at least, a good 3 tasks that are important that you need to get done on this day. And do the same for each week. And if you have tasks that you couldn't finish or you found were not crucial, you can always put them in the overdue section. And after they're here, you can kind of see where you're more free and allocate time that way, which I find very helpful. And for organizing academics specifically, I have my own personal Notion templates. If you click here, there's a tutorial on how to use them, and I have, links to resources and how to download them and everything. And so, again, this is a system in which I decrease the resistance that I have to overcome to start studying and to start structuring my plan to study. And so these are the topics to learn, and I group them by, let's say, pathology lectures, pharmacology, clinical, etc. And you can do this for first year, second year, whatever, but I just have templates for clerkship years mostly. And so by date, once we take a lecture, it's going to appear here. And they're going to accumulate. And let's say I see that I have a midterm coming up, and I have 7 pharma lectures to do, and 3 clinical lectures, and 2 pathology lectures, and 1 immunology lecture, for example. I know that pharma is the densest and, or let's say, for example, the most difficult, although I don't agree, but I'll know that I need to focus my time here. Once I check off a lecture, it's going to move to the first pass done. Once I check it off from here, it's going to appear here because I need to revise it. And so it's just kind of a system that helps me organize without me having to think about it. And that's the thing, you're setting systems so that you don't have to think about it, so that it becomes easier for you to use them and easier for you to do them. And just to highlight that Notion is not only used, for these types of organization systems, you can also use it for note taking. For anyone taking internal medicine, I kind of made a rapid fire review about general IM, gastroenterology, cardiology, all of these like crucial topics that come in a lot of our exams. So, as a great review. So again, there's a full tutorial on how to use my Notion templates and build your own productivity system. And for years 1 to 3, we have academic aids Notion templates, which is one of the committees under the Medical Students Association. And this is, I think, the least path of resistance because all you need to do is duplicate it. And all of your lectures are already there, listed by week, by subject, by everything, but just need to start checking it off. And so it's an incredible initiative and very helpful. And again, calendar, use any calendar app your heart desires. But what I find very helpful is time blocking. First of all, schedule everything that you have that is set. Your, let's say, lectures, if you're a student, your courses, whatever it may be, and color code them. So for me, anything academic is an orange. Anything blue is, personal, like gym, going out with friends, all of these things. And green is extracurriculars. And pink/red was things I had to work on as presidential office. So this is how I would divide my time in terms of those sections of life. So you can use the 3 priority or 3 areas of life that you already organized on the paper, assuming you did that. And so make sure to set clear and achievable deadlines. You cannot schedule a day from beginning to end, and that's fine. You need to allow yourself time in between tasks because, again, you're not a robot, you're a human being. You need time to get your brain to switch from one thing to the next. And schedule your study sessions in a way that makes sense for you, okay? Your study sessions, your work, and the nice thing about having a calendar and looking at this, large view is that I can see that, Saturday I'm free. The work I couldn't get done on Tuesday, for example, I can move it here. I'm not superhuman. I can't do 50,000 things at once. I need to allocate my time in a smart way. Okay, so I highly suggest using this type of calendar system. And now I move to Pomodoro. So there's an app called Flow that I have on my laptop, and it's a Pomodoro timer. And so what Pomodoro is it's basically a timer that says you need to work for 25 minutes and then you take a 5-minute break. And then you repeat those for, increasing intervals. And if you get 4, let's say, 4 sets of work done, you get a longer break. And it's very helpful, but I find that it's very helpful for smaller tasks. And my problem with Pomodoro personally is that by the time I get, let's say, 10 minutes into those 25 minutes, I just started understanding what my task is. And then I only worked for 15 minutes and then the timer rang. And now that 5-minute break suddenly turned into a 20-minute break because I got distracted. So what I tend to do is edit the settings and increase the time of that timer. So instead of 25 minutes, I would do an hour and I'd say, okay, I want to get focused work done for an hour and then I'll take a 15-minute break, for example. And again, you can alter this to your own needs, to your own liking. Try it out for yourself. Maybe you're the person that can't do that and just has to sit in isolation for hours at a time. That's also fine. I just thought this would be helpful to share. And so mindfulness and habits. Breathe and eliminate the distractions in your life. So there's a breathing technique called box breathing, also called square breathing, used by Navy SEALs in order to get them to focus. And whenever I find myself in a period of either I feel panicky, I feel nervous, I feel like I'm not mentally ready or prepared to start getting these tasks done, what I'll do is I have an app on my phone called Oak. There's also an app called Mindful Breathing, the one that I showed earlier. And okay. So what it does is you have a bunch of different breathing techniques. So I would choose box breathing, and you can do it for different different times. Like you can do 4 sets, 1 set, 2 set, etc. And so you just begin the exercise, and it will breathe with you. It'll inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, and kind of repeat that on and on again. And it's a very helpful way to calm your mind. Especially if you feel overwhelmed before starting a task or even during a task. And it's very simple and you can do it anywhere and it doesn't require anything. Moreover, I highly suggest you use the built-in productivity systems we have on our devices, such as if you have an iOS device, do not disturb mode. Customize them to your liking and to your needs. Use those apps that eliminate you from opening whatever social media. It's perfectly fine. And with the do not disturb modes, like for example, when I start working, I know for a fact that I put all of my devices on work mode, which means I will get no notifications, no WhatsApp messages, nothing. The only thing I will get is calls if they're urgent, and I can choose who I get calls from. So usually I make that, my family. If someone calls me twice, they can reach me. But in this allocated and dedicated period of time where I need to work, I will make sure that if you have something urgent, if you need me, you call me. Otherwise, you are not my priority right now. And this is how you take control of and charge of your time. And be mindful of those spaces of time where you are relaxing, what you fill your time with. Personally, I enjoy watching a video or a show or something when I'm eating. And when I do that, I try to be mindful of what I'm watching. Instead of filling your time with, let's say, scrolling through TikTok or videos or Netflix, try to instead shift it towards things that are gonna help encourage you more. So let's say you're eating lunch. Instead of watching another episode of Friends, which I'm 100% guilty of, I love that show, you instead watch a TED Talk, watch TED videos, listen to an audiobook, listen to a podcast on your way home, start little projects like crochet, art, look into music. Again, this is just suggestions, not laws, but have some kind of way to shift the focus of things that are overstimulating your brain to things that are going to be more helpful for you in other ways. And above all else, I think it's very important if you are a spiritual person, keep spirituality at the forefront. Set your intentions for every task. In Islam, there's the concept of barakah. إنه رب العالمين حيبارك لكم ويغفر لكم. If you set the intention of doing it for the right purpose, doing it for the want to help others, setting your intentions for an entire year and then resetting them every day, it just makes you that much more conscious and that much more aware of the work that you're doing, and it increases its impact in a way that is beyond what I can, sit and describe. And other than that, I mentioned it, but I'll mention it again, taking care of your body, sleep. Sleep is so neglected, and I say that knowing that I've neglected my sleep a lot over the years, but it's so crucial because you wake up with a battery, and if you're sleep deprived, then the battery you have at the beginning of the day is already at a lesser level. So you're just putting yourself at a disadvantage. And you're putting yourself at a disadvantage, your health, your focus. So take care of yourself. It's just as productive as doing the work, I promise you. And just a side note, if you are the type of person that likes to listen to things while working instead of opting for music, try to use something like diurnal beats or study music or things that are going to help you focus more so than just filling your mind with music at the time where you're trying to do another task. And so let's look back at your 3 priorities. Have you changed your view on them? Has anything changed? Do you look at them differently now that you kind of understand how to set your intention and the benefit of doing that? Again, I'll say it like a million times, but just remember your motivation is finite, but your discipline is not. And it's very crucial that we shift our mindset. And now that we know what our priorities are, you can switch from saying, I don't have time to, this isn't a priority for me right now. And saying, for example, we're very guilty of this. I think a lot of people are, and I myself am. I would say, I don't have time to go to the gym. I'm too busy. Okay, that's true to an extent, but isn't it so much better to tell yourself, I'm not going to the gym because it isn't a priority for me right now. That subtle shift in the way you say things and your mindset makes that much more of a difference. And you can see this also in little things. If you're a student, changing the word studying with the word learning, using things with more positive connotations to subtly encourage you to want to do them. And again, I'll say it a million times, taking care of your body is one of the most productive things you can do. This doesn't mean be lazy and don't do anything, but it also means know your limits and know when you can push yourself and when your health is more important. You need to eat well, you need to exercise. And that doesn't necessarily mean going to the gym. This could be walking around wherever you are, university, around your city, your town, whatever it may be, just making sure you give yourself time to move. And even if you feel like you're busy, let's say you're studying something, memorizing, walking around with your device. Okay, you can walk around, you can hold the device, it's portable, and you can walk around, do a couple laps while you're reciting to yourself, for example. That can be your exercise for the day. Again, the most important thing is that you're moving. You need to nurture your body, nurture your spirituality, your relationship with Allah, if you guys are Muslims, and whatever religion you believe in. Taking care of your soul is just as important as taking care of your, academic performance or your relationships and all of these things. And again, rest is just as productive as work. You are not a machine. You are not a robot. You are not put on this earth to work 24/7, and you do need time for yourself, and that is completely fine. Sleep, rest, time off are again just as crucial as doing the work itself. And you neglecting these things are going to lead to you getting burnt out. And once you're burnt out, if you've experienced that, you know how difficult it is to get out of that and how much time passes you by where you could have taken those little chunks of time to just take care of yourself, sleep that extra hour, and maintain your health more so over the long period of time, not just the short period. And this is a very important reminder for myself as well. You are not your productivity. I think in the way we view a lot of things, especially in modern day, it's all about, hustling and doing more, and we're in very competitive environments. But at the end of the day, hard work alone is not what makes you productive. What actually makes you productive is a balance. You're eating, you're sleeping, your time off is what makes you productive. Your exercise and your hard work. All of these things come together to make you a productive person and a more well-rounded person in the future. And so if you have any questions, please let me know. You have my email. Feel free to email me. And of course, leave comments under this video. I hope this was helpful. And I hope this was insightful, and all the lessons that I've learned over the years are beneficial to you in one way or another. And again, this is just my personal experience and my personal tips. I try to link as many papers, as many videos and playlists and things that I find helpful as possible. And I hope that these little shifts in your mentality and having a better understanding of why we do things the way we do things will help you in one way in the future. So thank you, and have a wonderful day, evening, night, whatever time you're in. Bye.